Hello, this is the tutorial on how to do the StockTracker assignment. So to begin, we have to use ArrayQueue, which has been provided for us, so let's look at that and see what we're going to use from that. We're going to import it all, but let's just talk about what we're going to use. This is the ArrayQueue. We're going to use first at some point. All that does is gives us what's first in line. We're going to use DQ, which removes the first item in line, and we're going to use NQ, which adds an item to the back of the line. So that's ArrayQueue, but let's get started. The StockTracker, what we want to do, we want to buy stocks and record how many we buy and the purchase price. And then we want to buy more stocks. We want to add that to the end. We also want to be able to sell stocks. When we sell them from the beginning of the line. We need to calculate the profit when we sell them. So we need to constantly keep the stocks paired with the price that they were purchased at. To do that, we use an internal class. It's a small class, but necessary to keep the quantity and price together. All it is, it's self. You provide the quantity, you provide the price. It assigns that quantity to quantity and price to price. It's very simple, but it's necessary. We can't put the quantity and price alone into the StockTracker because we'll lose it. We won't be able to keep them together. We might be able to, but it'll be really complicated, and that's not complicated at all there. So everything else is going to be inside the class StockTracker. To initialize it, it's not going to be much. We're going to have a queue, which is going to be that ArrayQueue, an instance of that class that we've imported. I call it StockQueue, you can call it whatever you want. And we're going to record, we're going to need a total quantity. Again, you can call it whatever you want. We're going to initialize it to 0 because we don't have any stocks to begin with. And then we need a total profit. We're going to initialize to 0 also. Okay, that's all for initializing. We have the list, we have the list of stocks, we have a total quantity, we have a total profit. So let's get into the fun. It's not the easier one is going to be the buy, but we need to understand what happens here because it's going to get very complicated with the sell. So to buy, we're going to pass it a quantity and a price. And the assignment gives us a few value errors. I like to put them in first just to get them out of the way. If the price is less than or equal to 0, raise value error. You can put can't buy non-negative price stock. Or you can not put anything, it doesn't matter. Both will work. L if quantity less than or equal to 0. Raise value error. Again, it'll raise the error without putting anything. If you wanted to print a message, you can do that. It's better to print a message, but you'll get the assignment if you don't print a message. Else, this is the else case is everything is good and you want to go ahead. This is where we're going to add the stock. What we want to do, we want to add it to the ArrayQueue, which we've defined as self._StockQueue. Now the underscore, this is an ArrayQueue class, so it's going to have that function NQ is the function that we're going to, the method that we're going to use to enqueue to add the stock to the list. And what we're adding is not quantity price, not that, because we're adding a pair, because we need to keep the quantity and price together for when we sell them. We need to know how many we sell at what price. And again, this quantity, this transaction class needs the quantity and price here. So we need to pass it the quantity and price, which is this quantity and price. We're just further passing it. And the other thing that we do, it's separate, but it keeps it simpler, is to have the total quantity to add that. All we do is total quantity plus equals quantity. And we return nothing, but we have to return because it's a function. Okay, to sell. Maybe we should take a look. Let's save it and run. Well, we don't. Let's define our. We're not going to define sell yet. Let's define the other methods. We have to define get profit. It's easy. Get profit has nothing except the self. All you do is call get profit and it returns self dot total profit, this, and similarly define get, what do we call it? Get quantity on hand, or get quantity, whatever you want to call it, return self total quantity. So these will be accessible to us in Python or to the tester. So we didn't do anything with sell. Well, let's run it and see where we're at. So let's call X a stock tracker. Not defined. That's no good. Maybe I didn't run it. Alright, there we go. So it's a stock tracker, an instance of the stock tracker class. Now we can buy, and we're going to pass it, we're going to buy 10 for $1. Oh, has no attribute price. We didn't do that. Equals price. Let's try again. We're going to buy 10 for $1. We're going to buy 10 for $2. And when we get to selling it, what we want to do is sell 15 for $3. And we haven't defined sell yet, so it's not going to work. But the reason we need to keep the price and the quantity combined is because when we sell the 15, we'll need to sell all of the first 10 and then 5 of the second 10. So we'll need to know which is which. But so we can't sell yet, but we can get quantity on hand. It should be 20. We can get profit. It should be 0. Good. We can see this is StockQueue. StockQueue is an ArrayQueue, something else to look at. If you press X dot and then underscore, you can see the internal workings of some of the things you've defined that don't show up with just waiting or pressing tab here. The user available functions. So you can get some of these other things in the command stuff. But let's get to selling. Selling is the hard part. All right, the first part of selling is and when we get here, I'll get rid of this. We're going to need to return the profit for the transaction, not the total profit of all transactions, but the profit for the individual sale. So I'll not put any return for now. All right, so there's some value errors we need to put in. I'll do those first. Where are you? If negative or 0 price, raise value error. If the quantity is 0 or negative, raise value error. Also, if we're trying to sell more stock than we have, like we had 20 over here, if we're trying to sell 25, that has to raise a value error also. So if quantity, which is, oh, let me put this self price quantity. So these are the values that will pass the function. If quantity, the value that we're attempting to sell, is greater than, we can sell equal to, so we want it strictly greater than. If quantity is greater than self.total quantity, the amount that we already have, that we purchased before. Raise value error, and you can put a message. Again, you probably would be better off putting messages, so if errors come up, you'll know which error you have, but for the assignment you don't have to. Okay, else. So this else case is all is good case. We want to proceed with the sale. First thing I did is sold the stock from the total quantity. This little side thing, which we only use for getting the quantity. All that does minus the quantity, this quantity. So we have sold the stock from our total quantity. Now we need to get the profit. Because we need to return the profit of the individual transaction, we need to initialize a value for the individual profit, which is what we do there. We have to do it inside here too. We can't do it initially. We're going to add this eventually to the total profit, but we'll get there. But we're initializing this individual sales transaction. So we have it at 0. Now, this is how I sold the stock. While the quantity is greater than 0, because there's a few cases here. We want to sell all that we want to sell, but there's a few ways that we can sell it. We can sell part. For instance, we can sell, if we sold 5, we would only be selling from here, or up to 10, but if we sold 15 or more than 10, we'd have to sell more than that. We can only sell from the first in the row. So we need to sell all from the first row before we can move on to selling any from the first index, before we can move on to selling any from further indexes if we need to. So while quantity is greater than 0 means that we have this whole quantity and we're going to sell it as we go. We're going to subtract from this quantity as we sell it.